Well, if there's anyone who knows about close calls versus the Czech Republic at a Winter Games, it's our next guest, former Canucks captain and executive, and of course, Canadian Olympian from the '98 games in Nagano. It's our pleasure to welcome Trevor Linden back to the program.
I think you peeled the scab off.
I didn't mean that as a low blow.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Yeah. And current PTSD sufferer after that. Holy cow. Yeah. Wow.
Well, we thought of you after the Suzuki goal, too, because it's one thing to tie it against the Czechs, but you got to beat the Czechs as well. Yeah. So we were a little bit afraid that the script was repeating itself here, Trevor.
Yeah, wasn't that just classic? I mean, that's already getting close to 30 years ago, guys. So, there's not a lot of youngsters out there who wouldn't even remember that. But, that's what's great about best on best and these one-game playoffs. I mean, in a 7-game series, I think, the Canadians would win all day long, but, one game and these smaller countries, good players band together, you know what I mean? David versus Goliath and good goaltender, hot performance, shades of Hasek in 98, so many similarities and it's a tough spot for Canada to be in. I mean, you're favored, and what was amazing too. Quarterfinals, Sidney Crosby gets hurt. Quarterfinals in '98, Joe Sakic gets hurt. Although that was against Kazakhstan, and then we lost to the Czechs in a shootout. So
Thomas Harley said after this game, I've been in Game 7 overtime. He said I was more nervous today. These are guys that have been there and done that. Do you remember the level of nerves that you were feeling late in that game versus the Czechs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll never forget that. Back then there was no shootouts in the NHL. So, I mean, the overtime was, we dominated play, had the chances after chance. Hasek was incredible. But then going to that shootout, guys were like looking around like, what is this? Like, because that was so foreign to us. The Europeans had way more experience than that in world championships, kind of grew up on that shootout determining big games. We didn't have shootouts in the NHL at that time. So it was totally like, this is crazy. I mean, we're gonna determine this game with a shootout. And so obviously that didn't go well. But what surprised me today, guys, is I did not know they go right to 3-on-3. That is amazing. That would have been stressful for the guys, because you think about, National Hockey League players used to going into the playoffs. I mean, they go in overtime, it's 5-on-5, but 3-on-3, they're used to being pretty loose regular season game. It's got to play tomorrow night or whatever. It's like, we'll just go for it. Right. This is a whole different story. That was some drama.
Even for gold, too. Even for gold.
Oh, for sure. Yep. Trevor, when you're surrounded by that level of player in a close game that's ticking down like that, what's the mood on the bench? Like, are guys angry? Are they worried? Are they still confident? Like, what's
quiet?
The mood on a bench with that level of player when you're losing in the late stages of a third period knockout game?
I think, honestly, guys, it's just the guys are focused. I mean, they've all been there. They've all been in those spots. And I think that they are just dialed. You're laser focused. You're not thinking about, holy, what, this is big. This, you're thinking about, you're right here. And that's why those type of players are there. Clutch performers, the best of the best. And so, give them credit. They dug down and found a way. And, I think the moment is so big and they're so used to being just laser focused that you're not, the minute you get outside of that, you're going to have trouble.
What are the dynamics of a room like that, Trev? Like, it's the best players in the world. It's the best players on their club team. It's guys who know they're going to the Hall of Fame. There's guys with collections of Stanley Cup rings and league trophies and things like that. How different is it walking into a room like that than it is walking into an NHL room?
Yeah, it is different. And I think because you're taking a collection of guys that are, power play, they're hopping over the boards like automatically. They're not waiting for the coach. They're over the boards, and so that's not the case now. And so what I found amazing in '98 was, and I saw this in the World Cup in '96 as well, is just take a guy like Stevie Yzerman, for example. I mean, he was a guy that first time I met Stevie Yzerman was at the '91 All-Star game in Chicago. He'd been there before as a kid. First time at the All-Star game, came up to me and just said, "Hey, welcome, and if you need anything, let me know." And super, it was good to me. And anyways, but Yzerman in those situations was basically like, what do you need me to do? Like, I'll check the other team's top center. I'll kill penalties. Like, I want to win. You know what I mean? And so, but that type of mentality is the Canadian mentality. And I think that you've seen that over the years. And that's what makes these teams so special, is that they all understand that you do what it takes, to get it done. And I think that's what's interesting about this team. But it's not easy, as we saw today.
Yeah. When you were with the Canucks, you brought Rick Celebrini into the fold. I know you and Rick go way back. Do you remember your earliest memories of young Macklin?
Yeah, I mean, he was. Rick is such a humble, hardworking, awesome guy. I've known Rick for 30 years. Back when he was just playing soccer with the Whitecaps, and I think I was talking with TC today about Macklin, and just the fact that Macklin is so down to earth and so hardworking. And TC was telling a story this year to me this morning about Macklin at the North Shore Winter Club. Comes in, says hi, having lunch in the cafeteria, doing his work in the morning. No special treatment. Never asked for anything, and just that's the Celebrini way. That's Rick, and Rick never liked to talk about the boys. I'd always push him. How's Mac doing? How's Aiden doing? And like he would always underplay how good they were. And but what a special story. I mean, to see Macklin do what he did during the regular season, and then take it to the next level here in the Olympics, and putting himself on a different level for sure. But I would say that what makes Macklin special is that his parents, brought him up right, and they've worked hard at, the grounding, humble part of things, and I think he lives those values.
We've seen the young player come in with poise before. You were certainly maybe one of the early incarnations of the guys that were, teenagers, but acted like they'd been there before. Bo was one of those guys too, but Sidney Crosby comes to mind when you look at Macklin, except he's also not too serious. Like he's not Jonathan Taves, I don't think. He can have some fun, and it's tough to find that balance when you've grown up at the elite level, always coronated as the top of your age group and even the age group above yourself, but he's still having fun. He's not taking it too seriously.
Yeah, and I think you see that a little bit. Like I think about Connor McDavid, who's amazing, but he's serious. Like he's they're so put in a box. And I think a lot of that comes from just they've had to be that way for so long. And so, yeah, it's good to see just a different side of guys. You know what I mean? A little bit lighter in spots. And I think he recognizes that obviously he's not taking himself too seriously. He's a kid, but he loves the game and is an incredible player. So it's refreshing to see for sure. Because I think the one criticism of hockey players would be that they're a little too straight and narrow, maybe not having enough fun at times. So it's fun to see.
You mentioned Aiden, by the way.
He always had fun. This guy was fun.
He was a serious young player.
Did you have to stifle personality? Did you have to be like, oh, okay, I can't be too expressive or too personable or anything because that's not the hockey way?
Well, every Christmas I'm reminded because that sports page where I walk around the room and interview the guys. Yeah. I interviewed Nick Gino and Pavel. Like, you guys that happening today? Like, I'm just like, holy smokes! So
yeah, no, that's a good example.
Let's get the team captain to be our correspondent in the room.
You hat tip to Aiden and Macklin. We should give RJ his credit. Young RJ, 137 points in 52 games for the North Shore Winter Club.
And their sister Charlie's a terrific tennis player as well.
Yeah.
So
They're
doing okay there. Rick and Robin, they have some athletes. You watch Bo Horvat grow up as an NHL player under your watchful eye. A word or two about Bo making this team, Trev.
Yeah, I mean, I give Bo is just he continues to take the next step. You know what I mean? He put himself in the position to make the team, and he deserves all the credit there. And he's having a great year. I mean, he's. I think the one thing that you could never forecast, certainly when he was drafted, Bo was that all around dependable kind of guy, but his ability to score his shot is incredible. He's got that quick release, and that's really allowed him to to get to the net and to score. But I couldn't be happier for him. He's a great kid and a great guy, and he's put himself in a great opportunity.
As people are maybe watching this live,
great kid, but he's 30 now.
I know he's still a kid to us.
We can't believe it.
As people are watching this live, at the very least, Trevor, Sweden is underway. Elias Pettersson trying to add to what has been a tournament with some moments for himself. Maybe some of the better moments of his season, I would say, playing with a higher group than, of course, the Canucks are currently boasting. Is that player still in there, do you think? What's the future hold for Elias Pettersson?
It's been you think about a few years back when you just saw this sky's the limit type runway for Elias, and I think where I really struggled was in the playoffs when they played Nashville and in Edmonton, and just the performance was you can struggle with your play, but in a playoff type scenario, you got to put yourself in the fight, right? And just be in the battle. And you just didn't see that with Elias. So it was concerning for sure. And he's been in and out and up and down since, it's the skills are there. I think it's a between the years type of situation. So you never know a situation like this where if they can have a positive experience and, change his scenery, change his outlook on things. And maybe that's a catalyst to get him going in a different direction. But certainly I said before the year for the Canucks to have a good year, they're going to have to, their top players are going to have to be their top players, one of which is no longer on the team anymore. But, and they're going to get great goaltending, and I don't think they've got any of that, and so that's where they are and why they are. So they haven't been able to stay healthy, and Elias he's been okay, maybe, but that's not good enough.
Since you bring up Quinn, did you ever get the impression that the Hughes brothers were going to want to play together, Trev? Like, was that ever in the back of your mind after you guys selected him, knowing he had a couple other brothers coming and that maybe there'd be a push for all of them to play together?
Yeah, interestingly enough, no, and you don't really, he was the first one. So, and then I think the thing that the difference maker was when they both, the two younger ones wound up on the same team. And so, and it'll be really interesting to see what Billy Guerin does here and what happens there in Minnesota. I mean, because, after I'm sure that, Patrick and Jim, once they knew that he wasn't going to want to be there, or didn't want to sign there, they did the best thing they could. And I think they did the right thing. Having said that, I mean, for Minnesota, you take on a player for a year and a half. That's all. I mean, he could be gone to New Jersey in a year and a half. So, but I get it. I understand it. I mean, that opportunity is pretty special to play with your brothers. And, I think that New Jersey's could have a very competitive team, and it's a big market. And so that's sometimes the dynamics that play into things. And, as an organization, you don't have much, you don't have a choice in the matter. That's just the way the chips fall.
Yeah. Lastly here, we were talking on Monday, or last week, I guess. There are a few bigger figures in Canucks history, in Canucks world, than Jim Robson, who we lost a week ago Sunday at age 91. A word or two about your interactions with him over the years, because needless to say, he was kind of the soundtrack for your career, or at least your playoffs in '94.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I go back to the '70s and being a kid in Medicine Hat. We didn't have the Oilers, we didn't have the Flames, and my conduit to the National Hockey League was Jim Robson on Saturday nights. That's what I grew up on. And so when I met Jim in '88, it was a pretty big thing for me. It was, and Jim was the most humble, respectful guy you could imagine. Mark Crawford told a story where, when they used to go, ride the bus to and from the airport and stuff like that, Jim would always be the last one off the bus. He'd let all the players go, and he respected the fourth line right winger as much as he respected the captain of the team, and that was Jim Robson. And for me, it was just an honor. People talk about the call, he will play, and to be part of that is an honor for me, because Jim was such a icon for Canuck fans. I mean, and think about back in the day. I mean, there were no games on TV. There was only one a week, and so Jim brought people to games, on the radio, and so he brought the games to life for people, and so that connection is so strong with older people who remember Jim, and I think the other thing that besides being the most humble man you'd meet, he loved to tell stories. He was a great storyteller, and I always tell him that, like, we'd be at a golf tournament or an alumni event or some Canuck event, and he'd get into a story about, Harold Snaps back in 1970. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was magic. And he could tell stories. And as you said, he was the soundtrack for all things Canucks for so long. So, a wonderful guy. And the other thing for me personally about Jim is that, especially later in my career, I realized that Jim was always down the middle, as far as he didn't want to be the homer. He was always down the middle, but he was really supportive of me. He was on my, and even when I worked for the team, he'd always come up and, give me a pat on the back and, hang in there, Trev. And we'd want to talk about the players. He loved the game. So, I really, as I got older, Jim and I really had a great relationship, and he hated anytime I saw him, I'd be, there he is, Hall of Famer Jim Robson, and he hated that. He said, "Don't, I don't want the attention. I don't want any extra attention. Don't do that to me." And I made sure I got the words Hall of Famer in there when I'd see Jim.
Can we borrow that call for Sidney Crosby in the semifinal of the final? Because we'd like him to play on crutches if possible.
Like to play.
Yeah, no kidding. What do we think that is, guys? What are they saying?
Well, I don't know. It's the two hits there from Gudas, and that's a big boy hitting him.
Knee,
so,
like.
it looked like a knee, but gosh, let's hope he
not
can
his
go.
head. You know what's interesting? We forget Sidney Crosby's career was like in jeopardy, with concussion, and we haven't heard anything of it. And what's amazing about this guy is he's 38 years old. This guy can play. He'll play he could play till he's 45 years old.
If he wants, he's got a few years.
Unbelievable.
For sure.
When you look at him, he's still hanging there with league scoring leaders all these years later.
It's incredible. And the difference, here's the difference, guys, I think is interesting. He doesn't, it doesn't sound strange, but he doesn't have kids. You know what I mean? Like, the thing that guys like Anze Kopitar in LA, he's leaving the game, could still play, because he doesn't want to miss any more birthdays or any more Halloweens or Christmas. Like, he wants to do that. And
good
Sid
point.
doesn't have that. So, he'd be like, damn, I'm just going to play. He could be Gordie Howe. So, because he's built, he's such a great skater. He's so strong. I mean, I've got to know Sid over the years, and he makes you be proud to be a Canadian when you see that guy.
Yeah.
So.
Indeed. Well put, sir.
You as well.
Still a good interview. Yeah. Still captain. And a Canadian Olympian, Trevor Linden. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Trev.
Good to be with you guys. Thanks, guys.